All right, welcome back, biology classes. Today's lesson is going to focus on your animal and building its history based on features it has that are similar to other organisms and features that it has that are different than other organisms. Last week, if you recall, you made a collage of your animals as you see here with what I did with the penguin. And you also worked on different body structures and looked at stuff called homologous, analogous, vestigial traits or characters. And those are features that animals share or don't share or used to share. You can see here again, just as a review, I chose the emperor penguin, which is part of the penguin group. They branched off 25 million years ago, part of the bird group 100, followed across the way birds and crocodiles to amniotes, which again were egg-laying, or just to clarify from last week, amniotes also can develop inside of an egg inside a mom, such as mammals, as yourself and dogs, cats, bears, etc. So humans are part of the amniote group, but they develop on an egg inside the body, whereas many of these organisms, as it was in the case with my penguin, develop in an egg outside the body. They're part of the bony vertebrate group, part of the vertebrate backbone group. So looking at the slides we built on, we can see here we're going to work toward connecting homology, which is similar features, morphology, which means the study of body traits and what their function is, and comparative anatomy, which as it sounds, you're going to compare the organs and the physical traits that an organism has compared to your animal. As we go through the list, here's some homologous structures. You can use the information from last week or use these slides equally for a resource. You can see here similar colors mean similar patterns even though they use them differently. Analogous characters, penguins and dolphins were related 320 million years ago, but now they have flippers and little wing sort of things that no longer serve the same purpose. Therefore, they're called analogous. And then we have something vestigial where, unlike the eagle, the penguin doesn't fly, so it has no need to have lengthy wings. They're also a little bit stockier and not quite as capable of flying. So there's a couple of things that work against it. So therefore, they're pretty much stuck on land. I give you some reminder definitions, and then I go through a whole bunch of comparative anatomy, skulls, internal organs, and you'll be working with these. Actually, you'll have worked with these things prior to doing this part of the assignment. Nervous system, and then a video, which we'll probably put together some video questions for, or have you write a summary. This is a really, really good light video. It's built on comparing organisms over time. It reviews very nicely all this stuff we just did. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit of review because you're going to be using the one Zoom site again. And so let's just practice here. I will click on this and we're going to use the lion as an animal. And so it'll pull up lion and you have sea lions. I'm going to use Panthera leo, which is the lion of the savannas that you're familiar with. Simba, Nala, if you recall back from the ecology unit at the end of first semester. So again, we'll probably have some delay with this lion loading. So while it's loading, like last time, I'll go back and kind of walk you through a couple other things. Eventually, you're going to go back to the continents and talk about organisms that are on neighbor continents that have similar features based on, again, their lifestyle, their habitat, their climate, all that kind of stuff that determines their environment. And eventually, you're going to use another really cool site where you're actually going to figure out how much percentage of DNA your organism shares with another organism. And I'll actually make a separate video on this later in the week. So let's check back and see how slow it is. I'm actually going to pause now because it's going to be wasting time, and I'll come back in just a moment once the site has loaded. All right, I'm back. It wasn't too terribly long, but it would have been a pretty boring minute or two. So here is the lion. Again, if I click on this, which you'll be needing to do in the upcoming assignments, it gives you a wealth of information. It talks about some of their body parts, which then allows you to compare that to other animals. It'll take you through more of their timeline history, where you can get some numbers that should be supportive of what you saw in one zoom. And again, this will be something you'll be expected to use or some other research in these upcoming assignment days. So, like last time, I want to try to get the blue road on here that shows the lion's history. And again, sometimes this doesn't work, so we'll see what happens here. And hopefully it'll create what I need. And if it doesn't, I will pause and refresh to limit the amount of memory that my laptop is using. Oh, and it's popped right up, so beautiful. All right, so like last time, you can click zoom out, and notice here we have roaring cats, which will of course have tigers and some of the other big cats you're familiar with. If you scroll around, here we have little cats such as bobcats, and they're pretty similar. So this might be a good spot to check on some of these bubbles here to find homologous characters or features or traits that your lion, if you have the lion or whatever your animal is, will probably share with your animal, because they're pretty closely related. In terms of geologic time and history, 8.75 million years is nothing. And again, MA means mega annums, or the same thing as millions of years. As we're familiar, MYA, millions of years ago, same idea. Anyways, evolution is a very slow process. Things never just become something else. It's little changes that accumulate due to DNA mutations, often determined by successful traits in their environment, and some mutations. Many times we think of mutations as being bad, but many of the mutations have been why we have such a variety of life. If you remember last week, we did the endosymbiosis ed puzzle, where simple single-celled things became eukaryotes, prokaryotes became eukaryotes. So enough review I want to walk you through. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit more because I didn't do much. And again, sometimes it goes really quickly. So if you want to control it, you can click the screen to stop it, or you can just let it go. So here again, we still see cats. So I want to move out a bit farther. And we're going to compare the cat. Here we go, still in cat group. And sometimes this goes really far, really fast, and other times it's kind of a slow process. So here we're starting to get some different things. We see the mongoose, we see foxes, carnivores, so we have the meat eaters, but here we have dog-like carnivores. So interesting, we have dog-like carnivores that branch off, and then carnivores that become cat-like. You see here cat-like carnivores versus dog-like. So we see a differentiation of how things changed over time. So I'm going to just pick something soon. Let me decide what I want to pick. How about bears? Bears sound interesting. So I'm going to click on the bear group, and we can see here bears branched off from other dog-like carnivores 39.7 million years ago. And if we see here, this section here would have continued up the road, if you want to look at it like that. And so cats went off in one direction, pangolins, which, by the way, interestingly, that's what some think could have helped transmit the coronavirus, COVID-19. It's one of the articles I read back when this incident was first underway. In any case, carnivores, are meat eaters, so we should have some similarities. You could click on this too and start looking at teeth or claws or something that's useful for comparing. So let's click on bears. Again, you should document the timeline here. And when I get into the bear group, I can choose a particular bear, and the grizzly bear sounds interesting. So I'm going to choose it, or the brown bear, or the Kodiak bear. It's called lots of different things. Here you can see its scientific name. So I'm going to click on this. And again, our goal here, let me move my pretty face out of the way. Our goal here is to look at what features are the same and what features are different from the lion if the lion were your animal. So here I see some skeletal structure. You might get some ideas from that. Again, this is where you have to sort through the reading. We'll talk about other features. Here we have a skull. And I'm going to actually take a look at that and read about it and compare some of the stuff such as teeth and jaws with the lion. We know they're both very vicious carnivores, very strong, right? And so this will be a trait that will help. We have claws and feet, so we can start doing some research right here and deciding if these features are similar or different. And then if we go on down the page, we might find something about its digestive system. Here's some reproduction. You'd have to go, here's dietary. So you got to kind of, again, research a bit. And you can search other sites as well, but this has a lot of stuff right in one place. Again, the Encyclopedia of Life will take you to another page that's quite useful. And if it's going to be slow, I probably shouldn't have clicked it, but I want to remind you of all the powerful tools that you have right here within this set of sites that I've been walking through with you. Again, you can click on information here, read more about the grizzly bear, and then I'm going to go back to the lion, and then we'll make those connections. Here we go, Ursus arctos. Here are some of its history. Here we can look at articles about the bear, other media pictures. Here's more about its lifespan, reproduction. So this will actually be stuff for the following week. Behavior, is it endangered due to environment, due to humans, etc. How it survives, a lot of good stuff. So let's X out of this. And let's now go back here. So now that I've found the lion, I could trace this back to brown bear. And sometimes, again, is another tool. Once you have something, you can trace it backwards. Otherwise, you can just zoom out. So now it's going to trace the brown bear back to my lion. And again, we're going to drag this and shrink it a little bit. And so now you can see it's following a red road. And somewhere here, make a couple curves. And I'm thinking this might actually take me farther back than I want. But we'll just kind of check it out. Amniotes. So this is taking me back farther in time. So again, that's some trial and error. I sometimes forget, but it is still useful in how you can navigate. So I'm going to delete the brown bear, and then we're going to just try to click back on this button, which should take us back to the lion. It's kind of like a geolocation button. All right, so here's the lion's history again, and how far back in time it went. Zooming in, zooming in, zooming in, and voila, there we are. So here, back to the lion. So I just want to show you a couple other things real quickly. Again, our whole goal in this lesson is to use these slides that you've been given during the week and make some comparisons about what features are the same, what features are similar but used differently, because they aren't so related anymore, what things have gone away, what kind of body structures help them live to their best of their ability, etc. And so back to this, if I click back on the lion, let's see if we can find. Now, again, this isn't always the case. Here's something good. Remember, you plotted this on your map. So this is, again, helpful later for why it has its traits, because it lives in a certain habitat. And I think if I remember from my earlier research, there's actually a lion skull somewhere. And I guess it's not on here, but let's check oh, here it is. So here we have a skull of a lion. So you could do some comparison. Again, read about its traits within this file, and then probably have to research some other sites. We know they're both mammals, so digestion won't be so similar, but because you're going to do this with 3 separate organisms, one that's pretty close and 2 that are farther away, and then we'll build into the DNA research in a future lesson. So with that said, I think that is about as much as I can tell you for now. A lot of this will be trial and error, playing around. It can be quite interesting because remember, you're tracking one animal that you chose across the globe over hundreds of millions of years and looking at the changes in its genes that have brought it to the place that it is today. Again, please reach out with any questions. I hope this is of use to you. Be patient with it. Please watch it and pause it and rewind it, whatever you need to do. And then definitely use these slides. They're very useful. They're summarized based on my penguin, but you can use the ideas going forward. If you have a bird, birds and penguins are both birds, so you have a resource there. If you're looking at humans as you did in an assignment, they're a mammal, so their bone structure will be similar to bears or lions. So there are a lot of connections that you will make. Take care. Hopefully we'll see you soon, which might mean August. Obviously it won't be this year unless I run into some of you outside of school just by random. And that is it. Thanks for watching.